Good afternoon, Dr. Sharma. I welcome you to another session on mental health.
Thanks, Mark, and good to be back with you. And hopefully, everybody out there are keeping safe and keeping healthy in this very difficult time. Thanks for having me back with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma. Today is May 5th, 2020, Cinco de Mayo. And we all know that right now we are dealing with COVID-19, the coronavirus pandemic. As of right now, we have 1.2 million cases confirmed here in the United States, and almost 70,000 individuals that have died. And it is a very difficult time, not only in the US, but around the world. And today, as we discuss mental health, I would like you to speak about cognitive behavioral therapy known as CBT. Would you tell us what is CBT?
Yeah, so there are many tools for coping with this crisis in terms of getting our emotional health at its best. And it's a difficult time. Even the health workers are going through a hard time having to cope with loss, so we're all affected in a negative fashion. So cognitive behavior therapy was developed by Aaron Beck, and it's based on the principle that as we think, we feel. So if we're thinking in a negative way, or we're viewing things in a pessimistic way, we start to feel down. And way back in time, we saw books that talked about positive thinking. So this is sort of like the way positive thinking can be applied from a medical perspective. And it can also be applied through a number of other modalities, supportive therapy, spiritual counseling. So it's a specialized form of therapy where we basically change the person's way that they think to make them feel better. And it's done through a process of having people analyze their thoughts, report back to the therapist. It's a lot of work in terms of homework assignment, but it's good work. It's not taxing. People enjoy doing it. It's ideal for persons who can apply things in an educated manner, in an intelligent way, and see the benefits of it. So it's beautiful therapy. It works very well. In actual fact, some studies talk about CBT as effective as pharmacotherapy for depression, so for some types of depression. It's particularly helpful for people who entertain negative thoughts, the ruminations. There are certain persons, when something bad happens to them, they tend to go over it, and they see all the bad sides of it, and they feel worse for themselves. They berate themselves that, well, I should have done better, I could have done better. It's also something that, so young people might be affected negatively if they're put down by another person, if they're being bullied, that they're thinking about themselves would change, and they start to view themselves as in a negative light. And so CBT is ideal for these type of situations, and also for helping to prevent suicidal thoughts. It's been shown that it can help change the way we see ourselves or see the future, that it's not as bleak as it may seem.
Very, very good. Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma. And I would like to touch on two things. One is that I was reading a report that says that CBT is actually just as effective or more effective than other forms of therapy. And so I'm so glad that you were able to explain what it is. And you mentioned something, suicide. We know that, as a matter of fact, Guyana has a very high suicide rate per capita compared to many other countries around the world. And many times when we think of mental health, we think that maybe someone was diagnosed by a psychiatrist, a psychologist. But the reality is, many times while facing a situation like COVID-19, we see that you will be impacted by your surroundings. And a classical case of this would be just last week. There's a doctor by the name of Dr. Lorna Breen who was working at a hospital in New York, and she's a very well respected physician. She, according to her father that was interviewed, who also happens to be a physician, he said his daughter did not display any kind of mental health issues, but the reality is she took her own life. So, what would you say as to how does CBT apply to individuals facing COVID-19? I'm not sure if you are you receiving, Doc. Did you hear me?
I got that question. The internet was a little bit unstable. No, that's a very good question, Mark. Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes. I'm hearing you. Not 100% well, but I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I think we got a bit of disconnect. But the question is how, well, how do we apply CBT to persons who may be suffering internally, as our doctor seems to have been, and, our hearts go out to the family because when suicide happens, while the person escapes the pain that they're going through, they leave the family in pain. And one would say, why would such an intelligent individual with medical training do that and impose that kind of pain on her family? And it tells us that when our thinking becomes distorted by depression, we lose judgment and we don't see the effects of what we're going to do, the effects of suicide, and the impact on our families. Sometimes we feel that we're going to be a burden to them, and the way we can deal with this is to leave this world. But that choice is not ours. As you know, in a spiritual way, we have no right to take our lives. And it's got to be somebody who has lost control over their thinking that would go down to commit those acts. And we reach out to those people, and I'm sure in your work that you do, you would pray that persons who are contemplating ending their lives would try to seek another way. And CBT does offer an opportunity for a better life, and it's a wonderful therapy. It's great credit to the persons who have developed it. And it requires some training that people just don't apply it if they don't know about it. But there are aspects of it that individuals in their homes and their personal lives now can use. And it involves looking at our thoughts. And what I would like to leave with our listeners is an opportunity to self-examine. And when we start to see our thoughts constantly go in a very negative direction, where we're brooding and seeing no hope, that we don't allow those thoughts to take control. We examine them, and that's the way the CBT works. That you examine the thoughts, you examine where they're coming from. That sort of requires some therapist involvement, and then we work to change in them. So you may see this COVID situation as going on forever. But one of the things we have done in our programs here is to show the history of epidemics, of viral epidemics, and that whilst we are in this pain and suffering of the COVID virus, when we reflect on the history of mankind has suffered terrible disasters and have survived. So we as the human race have the capacity for survival. And whilst it is grievous to lose patients, for health workers to feel terrible about it, really we got to reflect on those times that we are going to come through this. And when we come through this, we got to look at what are we learning from this, and what are ways that we can make our lives better or more stronger. How can we care for persons? How can we be better people as a nation, as a world? So just an example of how we can have a philosophical change in our mindset. We don't see the situation as so ghastly and never ending. I just had some patients yesterday, and one of the young ladies was saying that she feels so distressed. Her family had left to go work in another country, and then she feels so isolated because she can't get on a bus and go to see her family in Guyana. And what can I advise her? And not always could they afford the internet connection. So we talked about that look, you got to find ways to communicate, get to at least use the audio of your phone, use messaging, use the cheaper ways to get to connect, because connecting with our friends or support system is extremely good. So don't see the situation as I can't do anything about it. We got to find a way to do something. And cognitive therapy helps us. We're going to take our thoughts and make those thoughts work for us, not work against us. So the brain has some very interesting ways that it operates. It's got a part of it that's almost self-destructive, and that's where it taps into this depressive type of thinking. Now, why it does that? It's very odd. Why is it doing that for a person? We all want to live the natural way of life for everyone, every person in the animal kingdom is for living. And if you try to kill an ant, you'll see how fast it runs from it. So every creature of this world with life tries to survive. Yet the human being has this side to him or her which is very negative, and it's coming from a very strange phenomena where it can self-destruct itself by suicide. So we got to be aware that we got this part of us in our brains that has this capacity to self-hurt. And not all depressions will recover from CBT. You will need some reinforcement, build a person's spiritual thinking, build their support system, use medications if necessary to help build them up, but it's working against a dangerous enemy that's within us. So while we're dealing with a very dangerous enemy external to us, this virus, this COVID virus, we're also dealing with our own enemies, the alcoholics will call it the demons in them, that we fought off those demons that helped to, support bad addictive behaviors. So there is this part of our brain that doesn't do good, and it's fueled by the frontal lobe, which can pass on negative thoughts. So changing those thoughts. So what I would like people today to think in terms of this particular threat that we're under, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that we are going to come through this. When we come through this, we must reflect on the great work many people are doing, the work that businesses are doing to support others who are in need, persons who are filling hampers to give to people who are desperate for food. So there is great work still to be done, and we must learn from this terrible onslaught against us. What can we learn that will make us a better person and a better people? So changing the thinking, Mark, I think is really the root way to change our own feelings and help change the feelings of others.
Doc, outstanding. You have explained something that is quite complex, but you've explained it very well. And indeed, there is hope. And it's important for people to know that they need to reach out to someone, a mental health expert. There is actually a national suicide prevention line in the US, 1-800-273-8255, 1-800-273-8255. And it's important for them to reach out, whether it's making a phone call, whether it's to a mental health expert, whether it's to their pastor or spiritual leader. It's important for them to know there is help, and we can find help, and we can come through this. Doc, thank you so much. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon for another episode on mental health. May God richly bless you and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Mark. Take care of yourself. Keep well, keep strong, keep the faith. Thank you.